everyone. Today we are going to talk about LinkedIn and how to effectively create and set up your LinkedIn profile to really maximize use of your LinkedIn in connection with employers, potential future employers, networking connections, and that kind of thing. So we will jump right into it. I am with UCF Career Services, and we are here to assist you not just with LinkedIn, but with other career development topics such as resumes, cover letters, networking, interviewing, and lots more. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the fact that recruiters are online. A lot of times students will ask me, is it really necessary for me to make a LinkedIn profile? People talk about it all the time. It sounds, like a good thing to say, but truly 72% or more of recruiters actually use LinkedIn for their recruitment purposes, meaning recruiters are hoping to find their qualified candidates online, much the same way that so much of our world has gone online in the last, couple of years. Recruiting is online as well. It's really convenient for employers. It's convenient for you as a potential future employee. And so, many organizations use LinkedIn. Most of the largest organizations definitely use LinkedIn, and even smaller organizations are definitely starting to have a real presence on LinkedIn as well. You'll notice some of the other social media channels here that are used most for recruiting, which may surprise you to find that so many employers use platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we'll talk about, maintaining those other social presences as well. So, like I mentioned, we want to talk a little bit about all of the different platforms that you might be using, whether they be more personal platforms or professional platforms, and, kind of some ideas about where to share the appropriate types of content. So, if you have some of the personal platforms shared here on the left, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, certainly these are geared towards a more personal message or follower base. However, that doesn't mean you can't share professional information here as well. As you saw on the last slide, many employers are going to be looking at your social media presence, even if that platform isn't specifically designed for networking or for, getting hired like LinkedIn is. So it's really important to be mindful of what your social media presence looks like on the whole. One of the best ways to do this is to Google yourself from a computer that you don't typically use. So, find a friend, maybe you've never used their computer before, Google yourself and see what comes up, which one of your media accounts are private, which are public, what sort of information do you share with public audiences on those platforms, and is that a good representation of who you want to be viewed as professionally? Is there congruency between the way that you appear to the world on Instagram and the way that you appear to the world on LinkedIn? And, again, this is, just a constant reminder to make sure that you've checked all of your privacy settings on any of these platforms so that you are really in charge of what you're sharing. Because once you hit share or post on anything, it is out there. Whether or not you delete it later, it's already out there. It's been shared. And I know that makes me sound, a little bit like your great grandma, but I promise that we've heard, kind of horror stories about ways that has ended badly for folks and candidates. And I don't want you to be that person. So what do we really use LinkedIn for? Because that's what we're here to talk about today. It's really for branding yourself, creating a really nice professional brand that you're excited to promote and showcase, creating and maintaining connections. So connecting with folks in industries or companies that you're really interested in, staying connected with faculty members, peers, colleagues, mentors, those types of folks. Some online learning and training, we'll get into that even a little bit more. A lot of people don't know how valuable LinkedIn can be as a training resource. Doing company research, when you meet with us in career services, we talk about really doing your homework on a company before and during the application process, and LinkedIn is a fabulous tool for that. And then, of course, getting hired. It's an excellent way to apply to jobs, to set up interviews, to connect with folks about next steps, and we'll show you how to do that as well. All right, so some of the must-haves for getting noticed. When somebody first glances at your profile, some of the things that they're going to be looking to see are a professional photo, a complete section. So, not having a lot of gaps in your profile, not having a lot of empty space or blank space, or, folks know what all of the different sections of LinkedIn have the potential to be. So you want to make sure you're completing it really thoroughly. Showcasing your skills, joining relevant groups. These are a few of the best ways to get noticed at first. And so we'll dive into that a little bit further. Folks who have a professional photo, a professional headshot as their LinkedIn photo, get viewed 21 times more on average than people who don't. This picture should just be you. So, we don't need you and your family, you and a group of your friends. We want to know specifically who you are, just from about the shoulders up, smiling, making good eye contact. So relatively close. Again, the idea is that we can easily tell who you are, and we can kind of get that first impression almost as if we were meeting you in person. Preferably a neutral background, something that's not distracting. And you really don't need to hire a professional photographer for this. I've seen people take amazing LinkedIn selfies, which sounds silly, but it's understanding, are you in good lighting, forward-facing lighting? Are you, in front of a simple background? Again, nothing distracting. Are you wearing professional attire? Looking comfortable, natural, confident, and that's really what we're going for. Your education section, we definitely want you to fill that out. Most of you are probably still pursuing your education, and so it's completely appropriate to list your education even if you have not graduated. Same thing with your resume. We want to see your school, the degree that you're pursuing, your major, any minors. Additional things you could include in this section are clubs or student organizations that you have been involved with, academic accolades or honors, relevant courses that you've taken, projects that you've completed. That's great experience to include with your education as well. And then we've got your experience section. Again, very similar to a resume, but profiles with 2 or more pieces of experience actually were 36 times more likely to be found by recruiters. Similar to when we're thinking about a resume, your LinkedIn profile, that's where somebody's going to really best understand what you can bring to the table. Why would you be an asset to their organization? And so we want to see kind of an extensive history of what you've been involved with. Again, we say this all the time with resumes, but experience does not only include things that you've been paid to do. It can absolutely include internships, shadowing. We already talked about coursework or projects that gave you really great hands-on experience. Volunteering is amazing, community service, things like that. So there really is no wrong type of experience. We just want to make sure that you are, being consistent about updating this, keeping it, relevant and current. That's really important. So even if it's setting a little calendar reminder, maybe every 6 months, to go into your LinkedIn profile and make sure that you've updated your bullet points or updated, maybe you've taken on a new internship and you haven't added it yet. Really keeping it up to date will help to showcase what you're involved in. We do have a specific volunteer section in LinkedIn, which is really nice. So this kind of helps to show potential future employers that you're well-rounded. You are a candidate who you're not only involved in your studies and your coursework, but you're involved in your community. You're getting great experience in different ways. 20% of hiring managers agree that they've hired candidates because of their volunteer experience. So again, you're showcasing not just the fact that you have, some technical skills that will allow you to do the job, but you are the type of person who goes above and beyond to serve, others in your community or to make a difference in another way. And so certainly when you're unemployed too, or, you're searching for a job, volunteering can be an amazing way to sort of bridge the gap in experience and to make sure that you're still pursuing new skills and new experiences, even while you're searching for kind of your next professional opportunity. There's a skills and endorsement section on LinkedIn, which makes it unique from other types of platforms. And we want to encourage you to include at least 5 skills, but preferably more. And so when we say skills, LinkedIn is a little bit kind of a macro view of your skill sets. And what I mean by that is, you can talk about skills like speaking another language, but also this is a great place to showcase, event planning skills or creativity skills, public speaking. Maybe different coding languages. Perhaps you've done a lot of research and have some really technical research skills. So on LinkedIn specifically, this is an appropriate place to list both hard and soft skills, so to speak, both, technical or language or research skills, but also transferable skills such as, leadership and communication, collaboration, those types of things. What's really neat about this is then as you go on to build different network connections on your LinkedIn profiles, friending people, so to speak, they will be able to endorse you for your skills. So, perhaps somebody that I've worked with in the past sees that I've put on my LinkedIn profile that I am, a competent public speaker. And they can say, well, you know what, actually, I have, been in a presentation that they've given. I agree that they're, a competent public speaker, and I will endorse them for that skill set. So then folks on my profile will be able to see, 17 people have endorsed Courtney for her public speaking skills. Joining relevant groups. This is similar to other types of social media where you can kind of choose, sort of how you want to engage with different facets of LinkedIn. And so perhaps you want to go ahead and join the UCF alumni group on LinkedIn. That's a great idea because at some point, hopefully you will be a UCF alumni. And it's a great way to start getting connected with job opportunities or, topics for consideration that are happening in that group. But additionally, you may want to think about groups that are taking place maybe within your major or field of interest, professional groups. So perhaps you've joined, the student chapter of a professional organization that's related to your field of study. You would want to join their Facebook group. Maybe you're a part of a sorority and your sorority nationally has a LinkedIn group. So these work very similarly to Facebook groups. But again, the focus is really professional more than it is social. So you'll find that folks posting in these groups, they're asking for advice. Maybe they're providing advice. They might be asking for information. They might be discussing hiring trends or hiring needs. So they may be saying, listen, we're getting ready to hire 4 new engineers for our organization. I'd love recommendations, or if you're interested in applying, please reach out to me directly. So it's a great way to get some of that kind of insider information just by joining. And so there's not, a limit or we don't say you need to be part of X amount of groups, but certainly go through and pick several things that you're interested in. The other thing that a lot of people don't realize is the groups that you join will determine how robust your newsfeed is. So the things that will show up on your LinkedIn newsfeed, your homepage, are going to be populated dependent on the groups that you've joined. Now, after you've done those things, what are some additional ways that you can help yourself to get noticed? A few of the things we're going to talk about are following companies that you're interested in, creating a personalized URL, and updating your information frequently. So I mentioned before, LinkedIn is a phenomenal way to learn about organizations that you are interested in. So, again, you'll hear us in career services say you really need to do your company research or your organization research. You need to do your homework. So you know a little bit about their culture, their mission, their values, what they're offering, who works there. And that is all research that you can start doing on LinkedIn. So you'll see here, we've got a screenshot of Enterprise's LinkedIn page. And so you can see a few different things. You can choose to follow them. Maybe Enterprise is a company that you are particularly intrigued by. You really like their culture, you already know a little bit about them, and you think you might really like to work for Enterprise at some point. It would probably be a great idea then to follow them so you stay up to date on jobs that they're posting, or maybe mentions of Enterprise in the media. You kind of know what's going on from a news standpoint. So, think about following some of the companies that you're really interested in. Again, that is not, they won't necessarily know that or see that. And so some students have asked me, well, is that creepy if I follow an organization, but I don't actually work there? It's not creepy at all. I follow tons of organizations so that I stay up to date on what they're doing and what they're up to, and that's totally fine. You'll see though at the bottom, they have little tabs so you can learn more about them. That will give you a little bit of a look into their culture, their environment, their mission. But you can see recent posts that they have created or reshared. There's a jobs tab where you can see, certainly their current opportunities. Life and people, those tabs are great ways to get to know even more about the organization, who's currently working for them, what might it be like to work there, what are some of their perks or benefits, that gets into their culture as well. Videos, maybe they've posted videos about some of their most recent projects or featured work that they're doing. And so again, all of these are very well-rounded ways to get to know about an organization so that when you're in an interview, you have a little bit of background knowledge. And at the end, when they say, what questions do you have for us? you've actually got some content knowledge to be able to formulate your questions around. You could even say something like, well, I saw on your LinkedIn page that you recently worked on XYZ project. Could you tell me a little bit more about that? Or could you tell me a little bit about how the role that I'm applying for might have a hand in work like that in the future? One of the most frequently asked questions that we get is how to personalize your LinkedIn URL. And so I want to just walk through that step by step. When you are looking at your own profile, on the right-hand side, you'll see this little tab that says Edit Public Profile and URL, and you'll want to click on that. And that will take you down to this box that says Edit Your Custom URL. You'll see at the very end of the link, I've changed it to my name, Courtney M. Pelfrey, but you could change that to anything. I would suggest just a first and a last name, really, for simplicity. When you create your LinkedIn, you're by default going to be given a URL that's probably a string of random numbers and letters. And that is not going to look as nice when you put it on things like your resume, your email signature, business cards, etc. So, we would just encourage you to change that just to something simple like your name. You can also add media to your profile. One of the profile sections you can choose to add is under the tab called Featured, and you'll see media there. And so this is a really unique way to showcase, maybe it's work you've done for a class or work you've done for an internship, as long as you have permission from that company to share it. But it could be, as simple as pictures and graphics, or maybe you created an interactive chart. Maybe you have some digital badging or some certificates and awards that you'd like to share. Maybe it's a link to an external portfolio. Maybe you have a website full of your photography that you'd really like to showcase. And so you can feature different things like that there as well. Articles, links, media, that's all in that featured category. So now, let's say that your profile is looking really good. You've gone through and you've taken the time to update it and to include all of that relevant information. You've gone through really thoroughly to make sure each section is filled out nicely. Now we want to start connecting with folks. And a lot of people say, well, who do I start with? I don't have a lot of network connections right now, or maybe you don't have a ton of experience yet, so you've never really had formal colleagues. Start with family members, classmates. Oftentimes your faculty are willing to engage with you on LinkedIn. Maybe you have had, past supervisors or mentors that you could connect with. All of these are great places to start. And, what is the value of making new connections? Well, we know that referrals are the top source of new hires for most companies. And so what that means is that companies are looking to their own people to say, listen, I know of somebody who, has reached out to me, or we've connected on LinkedIn, we had a conversation, or we got a cup of coffee, and I think they would be somebody that we should interview, or, I've taken a look at their resume and I'd be happy to refer them. This is the perk, especially, of connecting with UCF alumni in alumni groups and, setting up informational interviews with these folks via LinkedIn, because they can refer you then to their supervisors or to openings that happen. It's much quicker. It's very direct, but also, you're kind of being vetted. It's sort of almost the preliminary step of your interview. And I don't say that to put extra pressure on you as you're connecting with people on LinkedIn, but I do say it to say, take those connections seriously. When you connect with someone, make sure you are, providing enough information about yourself. You're being, very professional, polite. And we'll talk about an example of how you might reach out to somebody that you don't know on LinkedIn here in just a minute as well. So I mentioned connecting with alumni. If you visit UCF's main LinkedIn page, that's what this looks like here, you'll see that there is even an alumni tab. And so I would encourage everyone to take a few minutes and play around with this tool, because it's particularly helpful and unique. So you click on alumni and you'll actually be taken to an alumni page where you can search our alumni, and there are, 250,000 of them on LinkedIn. you can search our alumni by what they studied, what city they live in, what company they work for. This is the most robust alumni database you're going to find. And it's constantly changing as people update their own LinkedIn profiles to tell us where they work, where they live, all of those kinds of things. So as you're looking through different alumni, maybe it's based on a particular city you'd like to live in or a particular company that you'd like to work for, you can connect with these folks on LinkedIn, even if you don't know them, and you can send them a message requesting what we call an informational interview. And like I talked about a minute ago, this is a really great way to start to better understand what it might be like to work for a specific company, or what it might be like to have a specific job title, and to ask somebody who is doing the job already. That's better information than you can get just by Googling something. But it's also a little bit less daunting because you are connecting with somebody that you have something in common with. These are UCF alumni, so you can lead with that UCF connection and it feels a little bit more comfortable. And typically alumni are super willing to kind of give back in that way and to talk to current students about what they do and how they enjoy it, what's difficult about it, what they'd recommend, for people trying to get into the field. So this is that page that I mentioned just a minute ago. You'll see, again, you can search by lots of different criteria. You'd be able to scroll over on the page to see even more criteria. And like I mentioned, you want to introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about who you are, what you're studying, but also make sure you're clear about what you're asking for. You're asking, maybe just for a few minutes of their time, maybe a phone conversation, a Zoom call. If you do live in the same city, seeing if they would be open to sitting down and getting a coffee. You can kind of put the ball in their court about how they'd like to continue the conversation, but be confident in starting the conversation. Here is an example of how I might reach out to someone on LinkedIn. Let's say I found an alumni named Joshua and I'm really interested in his role in human resources. I might say something like, "Dear Joshua, my name is Courtney Pelfrey and I'm a current UCF student studying psychology and Spanish. I found your profile using the LinkedIn alumni feature and wanted to reach out because I'm interested in learning more about your role in human resources. Do you have a few minutes in the next couple of weeks that we could connect so that I could ask a few questions? Thanks for your time, Courtney." You'll notice that it's very short and sweet, but it's also very clear. I introduce myself. I tell Joshua how I found him on LinkedIn, why I'm reaching out, and what I would like our next steps to be. So you can use kind of this template or this format as you're reaching out to alumni or other folks on LinkedIn. The other thing to know about LinkedIn is they have a feature called Open to Work, which can be really helpful for folks who are currently job searching. So essentially this puts sort of a badge, a little frame on your LinkedIn profile photo so that as, employers are looking at your profile, they can see that you are currently seeking work, you're looking for a job. And that, especially for people who are recruiting or their job is to find qualified candidates, that sort of gives them a heads up that they should be looking at you to kind of see what you're all about, see what your experience is, what your skills are, to see if you might be a good fit. You'll also have this private dashboard down here. You can look at things like salary insights to see, in different fields, in different industries, in different roles, how might your salary or your potential salary compare to what other people are making in that field or industry. You can keep track of jobs you've applied for, courses you've taken, articles you've shared or written, and you'll be able to see, similar to the metrics on other social media sites, you'll be able to see how many people are viewing your profile, how many people are viewing your recent posts, how many times your name has appeared in recent searches. Now, LinkedIn obviously has a robust job searching feature as well. You may be familiar with the Jobs tab on LinkedIn. I encourage everyone to take a few minutes and play around with this as well. Essentially, this works much the same as you're going to find on sites like Handshake or Indeed, Monster. You can search by lots of different criteria, including location, job title, job field, salary, type of role. But you can also turn on an alert. So if you like the search that you've done and you want LinkedIn to save it for you so that you can recreate it often, you can always turn on a job search or a job alert, and that will allow you to go back and search for the same things over and over again. We talked a few minutes ago about tailoring your newsfeed, but I just want to reiterate that for you. following companies or following people, it doesn't have to be a company, it could be an influencer, and following different industries or news sites, that is a great way to kind of curate your news feed. So to decide exactly how, what kinds of information and insights do you want to see every time you log in. So the more people and companies and industries that you follow, the more robust your experience will be every time you log in. Similar to Facebook, if you have 5 Facebook friends, you're probably not going to see a ton on your home feed, just because, you might see the content from those 5 people, but beyond that, it's all going to be sponsored posts or things like that. So similarly in LinkedIn, the more accounts that you follow, the more robust your home feed will be. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that LinkedIn is a great tool for learning and training as well. And so some of you may have heard, hopefully, of LinkedIn Learning, which is a free tool brought to you by LinkedIn, but paid for by UCF. So you have access to this just by being a UCF student, and you can access it through your profile. So when you're first getting started in LinkedIn Learning, you can just Google, LinkedIn Learning UCF, and you'll go through the UCF portal. You'll authenticate the same way you would for many of the other UCF services, getting into web courses, things like that. So you'll log in with your UCF credentials, but you'll want to make sure that you connect LinkedIn Learning to your LinkedIn account. You'll want to make sure that your profile is connected with LinkedIn Learning so that in the future, when you log into LinkedIn and you're looking at your profile, you'll see a little graphic in the top right-hand corner that will say learning, and you'll be able to go directly to your LinkedIn Learning account. Now, once you're there, you can search for hundreds of different courses and videos on different topics, and you'll be able to build new skills. So I know people who have taken full photography courses through LinkedIn Learning, full coding courses, full courses on public speaking, full courses on diversity, equity, inclusion. But maybe you don't have time for a full course. Maybe you just want a couple of different videos to sort of prepare you for an interview or things like that. So, it's really what you make of it and how much time and energy you're wanting to put in and devote to it. But it's pretty incredible the amount of topics and skill sets you can build from using LinkedIn Learning, which again is free to you. So we really encourage you to take advantage of that. You'll see here that at the bottom of the screen, UCF Career Services has put together a couple of what are called learning paths, which are series of videos on similar topics. And so you can even go to LinkedIn Learning to watch videos that we've curated and put together for you on the job search and discovering interests and majors, preparation for the job search. So, please take advantage of those resources there as well. A couple of additional LinkedIn Learning tools, just LinkedIn tools that I want to mention include student resources. So LinkedIn has created sort of a university LinkedIn guide to help students navigate building their profiles, getting connected. It does include much of what we've talked about in this presentation, but I wanted to include the link there in case you're interested in checking that out. And then LinkedIn also has a military and veteran resource page. Again, I've put the link there in case you're interested in looking at that. But that has some really great insight and advice for military and veterans to be able to showcase their skill sets on LinkedIn, best understand how to connect with folks and really utilize their strengths and tools in the job search. That brings us to the end of our presentation. This is some of Career Services information. If you're looking for us online, we're in lots of different places. We're on social media if you'd like to follow us there. And if not, hopefully you know that you can reach out to any of us, and we are more than happy to get your questions answered and to help you however we can. I hope this presentation has empowered you to feel a little bit more comfortable in LinkedIn and to hopefully, get excited about getting in and utilizing your profile. But again, we're here to help. We're happy to do LinkedIn profile critiques. Once you have completed your profile, you're welcome to set up an appointment with any of us in Handshake, and we're happy to look over that profile with you and to give you some thoughts and suggestions about how you can make it even stronger as you go forward in your job search. And we wish you all the best of luck.